Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I wanted to do a video talking about the difference between theoretical knowledge and actual practical knowledge, and why your education is worthless. So I did a video where I talked about why Trump was elected, essentially. And this is very similar, but I wanted to hit home on this point again of this idea of taking action, because and what spurred this is really, on some of the videos that I do, some of you, I'm not even sure why you continue to subscribe to this channel, because you just seem to hate everything that I do. It's cool, that's fine, you know, whatever, like, it's your time. But some of you, like, some of the reasons why that you tend to have this view, I think, you know, personally, is that you feel like you're educated, or you feel like education is so important and is so critical, and you want to pride yourself in your education. And a lot of us do, right? Don't get me wrong. I've been there. I have thought this. I have sat in my ivory tower and believed that I knew better than the lesser people of the world with my theoretical knowledge and my textbook knowledge. And the thing is, you know, that's great. It's great to be an intellectual. It's great to have, you know, education. It's great to go to school in college, but you can't give it too much credence, right? And that's one of the problems, is that some of you are well read, and some of you think you know so much about evolution. You've got that mastered and figured it out, or you understand economics, right? Because you've read textbooks, or you have teachers or professors that have taught you economics. But in reality, here's the thing. When the rubber meets the road, that theoretical knowledge, it's really not very useful, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is results. So it's practical knowledge, right? Now, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I talked about economics a lot, and I think this is one of the key areas where this is true. Is there's a lot of people that think they know economics, and they understand, you know, the principles that they've been taught in school. And the reality of the situation is that the only way that we can actually know what economic policies, what works in the economy, is by our score, and the score is about the amount of money that is created, the amount of wealth that's generated. And so it's going to hurt you a lot if you continue to think in theoretical terms, if you continue to take your book knowledge and feel like that's all you need to know. Because the thing is, the book knowledge, like I said, it's great, but you're putting too much credence in doctors and college professors, in books, in all of these things that present you with a theoretical viewpoint of the world. And theoretically, there's a lot of things that make sense, but in practical rubber meets the road type of terms, that theoretical knowledge ends up being useless. It ends up being thrown away. And if you have ever done a sport, right, you know this is true, right? Because you can read all you want about a sport, but when you actually get out there and compete, it's different, right? Especially take a sport like, you know, I give you an extreme example. Take a sport like ultimate fighting, MMA fighting, or boxing, right? You could be very technical in your knowledge and have a very good understanding, but when you get punched in the face, it's going to be a whole different thing, right? And so, you know, I guess what I would just encourage is that you got to watch out for this trap. We can all be susceptible for this trap of believing that our theoretical knowledge is worth something, that this education that we get is worth something. And in reality, it's not. It's only what you can take and practice and put into practice and actually get results from that actually matters. And so, well, you think that you know all this stuff, and all these other people that aren't educated are dummies. You got to look at your own life. And, you know, I have to do this too, because there's plenty of places where I make this mistake. But you got to look at it and say, what are the actual results that I'm getting? right? How am I applying this knowledge and actually getting results? And if the answer is, I mean, there's two possible answers here that you should consider where you might want to back off from this theoretical knowledge, which is, one, I'm not getting results. So, you can think that you are the most intelligent economist and you can understand finances and you can think all this stuff, that you've got this education and you're smarter than all these lay people that don't understand economics and how the monetary systems work. But if you have not been able to apply that, if you're not able to generate money and wealth, then you have to seriously question whether or not that knowledge is, one, valid or is useful to you, or if you're actually applying that knowledge, right? And if you do apply it, you may learn some different lessons. So you might want to look at people that are applying that knowledge and see what they're saying and see what they're doing and see how you can exercise that and compare that against that theoretical knowledge that you have in your head that you've read about, right? I'm not saying that there's no value to it. There is, but there's not as much value as you might think. The second thing that you can look at with this theoretical knowledge is whether or not it even is applicable at all, right? So this is going to fall into the category of a lot of you that profess to know everything about physics or evolution, or you think you've got the cornerstone on some of these things that we don't really know the answer to, right? Or even religion. Some people fall into this category. What good is it, right? Having this theoretical knowledge, what good does it actually have an application? A lot of these things don't actually have any kind of practical application. All that it does is that you sort of create animosity towards people and you separate yourself distinctly from other people, right? Everything that I try to do on this channel, I try to give some kind of practical value, right? I'm not teaching you, I'm not giving you my political views on economy or economics or on privilege and things like that because I want to share my political views with you. I don't give a shit about or religion or any of that stuff. What I want to do is I want to show you how to practically improve your life through these things. I want to show you that if you have this mindset that says that the world should work this way and it's not working out for you, maybe you need to change the mindset. You need to change what you're doing. Maybe, again, when I'm talking about economics and I'm saying that poor people are generally don't understand economics that well, right? It's a generalization, right? There are exceptions, right? But for you, it's not about, I don't want you to take this and then apply it to someone in Nigeria who never had an opportunity or some Syrian refugee. That's not the point, right? That you may be able to find a case where they're an economic genius and they just have had absolutely zero opportunity, and so they can't maximize that, and so they can't build any kind of wealth. But for every one of those exceptions, I can find an exception the other way. But that's not the point. The point is, what can you do? How does it benefit you? Don't go and point the finger at them and say, well, you see, you're wrong, John. That's fine. Okay, I'll accept that I'm wrong in certain cases. But the whole point is to apply it to you. Right? That's the whole point. I'm not talking about it because I'm trying to help this Nigerian, poor person or this Syrian refugee who has no internet access. You're watching these YouTube videos. You have the means, right? You have means more than probably 90% of the world if you're watching these videos. I know not everyone is in the United States or is in a first world country. Some of you are not, is economically advantaged, but you're still way more economically advantaged than most people. And so the question is, right, like if you particularly are not able to generate income at the level that you want to, then where is your breakdown and misunderstanding, right? Where is your education lacking in economics? Because you do have the opportunity, at least most of you do. Maybe there's a very, very small percentage of you that don't. But if you're watching this video, there's a really good chance that you do. And so I'm trying to eliminate the excuse for you. I'm trying to say, look, the score is your success, is your ability to actually take what you know. And so that's, again, I'm kind of rabbit trailing a bit here, but I want to make it very clear to you that that theoretical knowledge is not very useful unless you can actually put it into action and get results from it. Otherwise, maybe you should just leave it be, right? It's one thing to explore things with curiosity and to learn about things and acquire knowledge, but if that knowledge never becomes wisdom, if it never gets put into action, if it never becomes true understanding, which can only be achieved by actually putting things into action, then it's not going to benefit you anything, and it's actually going to hurt you a lot, because you're going to think that you know something that you don't actually know, right? I want to find all my weaknesses. I want to find the places where my theories don't work, right? And so you should be constantly, instead of trying to prove everyone else wrong and try to prove that your theories or what you've been taught in school or what your esteemed professor of economics has taught you, instead of trying to prove everyone else wrong and that you're right based on these things and these logical arguments, you should be trying to figure out, where do your theories break down? Where does this not work? When I apply this to life, I want to see where there's a gap so that you can gain the knowledge and understanding to actually be able to apply things. Because again, you could take the education that you have, right? Maybe you've got this huge education, you've read all these books, you're a PhD in economics and physiology and all this stuff, right? But you're poor, living with your parents, and you're fat ass, right? And you haven't achieved any of the things that you want in life. So maybe instead of having that huge amount of education, you could take 10% of that, and it would be more valuable if you just applied that 10%. Again, like that video I talked about why Trump particularly won. What he's good at is doing that. And a lot of people that are successful that you think are dumbasses, they're able to do that. And maybe I'm in that category, right? I try to gain theoretical knowledge as well, but I'd rather have the practical knowledge. I'd rather know 10% of what but be able to apply that and be able to be successful and actually achieve my goals, rather than be, quote, right all the time, because a lot of theories get proven wrong. So that's a big spiel on this, and again, I think I'm not excluding myself from this. I'm guilty of this from time to time. I definitely can take my theoretical knowledge and argue, right? I've been in places where I've argued and said, look, no, this is how it is, where someone is on the ground actually implementing strategy and getting results, and they're telling me something different, and I'm arguing with them from a perspective of having no true understanding, of not actually having any wisdom in that area, and thinking that my theoretical knowledge must be true, whereas they have practical knowledge that's actually functioning and working, and I have to stop and I have to suspend my own disbelief and say, look, okay, this person's getting results. I need to listen to this person. I need to forget about what I read, what I heard, what I think is true, and look at, one, if this person's getting results, what are they doing? And two, when I actually try and do something, what actually works, what actually is profitable, what actually benefits me and actually generates the kind of results that I want to achieve in my life. And if there's a disconnect, I need to look at that gap seriously and say, look, this is all great and all, right? But life isn't a perfect vacuum. All these physics equations don't work because we have friction that we can't account for, right? It's like, there's a lot of problems with just taking the theoretical approach and not applying it. And I'll wrap this up with one other thing, which is anytime you want to get into an argument with someone, you really should think about whether or not that debate, whether or not there's actually a good outcome for it, right? And if there isn't, that's probably not worth it, right? Again, like I said, on this channel, a lot of the things that some of you think are just me spouting off a political opinion or something like that, it's not about that. It's not about whether if I do a video on white male privilege, or if I do a video on why you should ignore like stupid things that offend you or trigger you, that you think is, quote, racist or whatever. It's not about sharing just a political opinion, right? It's about saying, okay, this is what's actually going to benefit you in your life, like practically, pragmatically. If you don't let this shit get to you, if you overcome, even if you're disadvantaged, if you treat adversity as an advantage, if you choose to live your life in a way where you don't make excuses, where you don't blame people, where you accept all the responsibility for your life, right? including being poor, including being fat, including whatever it is, because you're the only one that can change that. If you take that viewpoint and you move forward with that viewpoint, you're going to have a lot more success than if you take the viewpoint of being a victim and blaming people. And that's just what it comes down to, right? Sometimes I'm a bit extreme in that because I want to hit that point home, but that's the benefit, right? It's not just me trying to convince you of some theoretical opinion that we could argue and debate about. What I'm telling you is hopefully going to give you the practical knowledge. You can even disagree with the premise. You can say, no, John, you're wrong about the statistics on racism and violence or privilege or economics or whatever. It doesn't matter. But the principle behind it is what I care about. That's what that's what actually matters practically if you want to improve your life, right? And we're all working on improving. We all have a long way to go. I've got a long way to go myself. Everything I say is not 100% accurate. It's not even close to that. But the principle of it, that's my focus. It's not on being 100% correct in the theoretical realm. I'd rather be 50% correct in the practical realm. If I can achieve that, if 50% of the advice that I give is effective in the practical realm, right? And I'm 10% right in the theoretical realm, it doesn't matter, because that's what's actually going to matter. That's what's actually going to change your life. That's what's actually going to improve your life. And if you can bat around that average, you're going to do pretty well. So that's all I got to say about that. For those of you that are still going to endlessly debate and hate on that and profess your theoretical wisdom, that's fine. But just know that you're missing out on opportunities to actually take action and do things, and that in the end, results is what matters. And so if you're telling me that you're so smart and you're so knowledgeable and you deserve a job and you know so much more than other people and you economically know more than other people and you know more about physiology and health and fitness and how to lift weights and how to get in shape, and you're a fat ass, not making a lot of money, living at home with your parents and afraid to talk to girls, well, I'm sorry, but you may have a lot of education, but you really have to ask yourself, is that education worthless? Because it may be. If you like this video, if you didn't like this video, if you just want to subscribe and then, debate theoretical viewpoints, click the subscribe button. If you want to grow your life and join me on this journey, click the subscribe button. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.